Hey, my name is Brent here on Cloudy with the Chance of Meeples. Today on the channel, we are taking a look at Confusing Lands. This is a tiny game. As it says on the side of the box, tiny game series. Game number 4. I haven't played the other 3, but this is game number 4 in this series from Envy Born Games. And so, this game legitimately comes with 18 cards. Let me show you how this plays in the radar overview. I'm going to show you a solo game, and it plays very similar to the 2-player game because it is a 2-player game. So let me show you how this works in the radar overview. Then we'll come back. I'll share my final forecast. Cue the thunder. So the radar overview for Confusing Lands looks something like this. Here I have it set up. This game is 18 cards, and it is a 2-player game. There is also a solo variant in the game, which I'm actually going to show you how to play this game via the solo variant, and I'll explain the differences between the solo version and the 2-player version. I'll also say that I have some promo cards, promo set number 1, and these are just 6 more cards that you can add into the deck to make the game 1 round longer. And these all kind of score the same. They all score against or compared to your opponent. So this is, you get 2 points for every river section of one of your opponents. It says one of your opponents, which is a little weird because it is only a 2-player game. But more on that in the final forecast. But I'm going to play a quick round solo, but this is kind of how you play if you are playing against someone. You always start with one kind of private or objective for every player. Everybody's going to be doing this. So everybody will get 8 points for every elk they have that is touching at least 3 forest spaces. Okay, so each round, there's going to be 8 rounds because you play 1 card each of the rounds. You'll get 2 cards, and you can use either of the sides. So if I would play this card down, at the end of the game, I would get 6 points for every pair of 1 elk and 1 wolf in my landscape. Or I could play this to make a river. If I play this side, I would then get 2 points for every mountain that is 4 spaces away of one of these crystals. And I will say, I like this a lot. Each of these little scoring clouds, they have a number. And then in the rule book, it has a paper of showing the 18 ways to score. So Valley Guardians, each of your crystal spaces scores 2 points for each mountain space that is exactly 4 spaces from it. I will also say that I've used this quite a bit. I've played this a handful of times, but until you play it and kind of see all of them a couple of times, I often am referring back to this scoring sheet. So I get 2 cards, and I can play 1. And so let's just say I'm going to play this one. In a normal game, I would then give this to my opponent. They would play it, and they would give me 1, and I would have to play it. But I'm just going to discard it. In a solo, then I discard the top one, and then I have to play this one. Okay, so this is 1 point for every mountain, 1 point for every river, crystal, elk, and wolf that I have. Well, I'm already going for wolves and elk, so maybe that would be a good one. But anytime you have a scoring objective, so here I have 2. This one doesn't count. At the end of the game, I'm going to get minus 10 points for every one of them. So I'm going to have to make sure I get more than 10 points. So if I load up my whole landscape with just scoring objectives, but I can't get more than 10 points per, I'm going to end up with minus points. So I'm going to, I'm going to keep it actually. So whenever you play a card, it has to cover up at least one of the 6 spots on a previous card. You can never go side by side, and you can never cover up a scoring objective. So I'm going to go like that, and it'll go round 2. I actually kind of want this one. This is 4 points for every. Yeah, I'm going to keep this one. 4 points for every river space in my longest river. So I'm going to set this up right like that. So this is going to score me at least 8 points right now. But again, it's minus 10 when I first play it. And then I get this top one. Well, I don't really want to add another scoring objective because I just don't think that's very wise. So I'm going to take this one because it has a wolf and an elk. And I get 6 points for every pair of the two. And I get some for this one. Little fiddly at times. Okay, round 3. Or round 4, 5, I don't know. This one equals to the same as my lowest one. This is every group of two, at least 2 trees is 3 points. Well, I'm going for the rivers, so I'm going to go like that. And I get it, I'm covering up one of my elk, but I'm getting 8 points from that alone. Discard that. On to the next one. As you can see, I'm really going for these elk and wolves. And crystals, well, this one, I'm going to discard that one. This one's going to be huge for me because of this one. So I'm going to go here, right like that. Oh, I totally forgot about the this common objective. 8 points for every elk that has 3 or more trees beside it. Clearly not doing that one well. Discard that. And how many do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This will be my 7th, and I'll play the last one. Okay. I don't know if I want to go for another river, truthfully. So I'm just going to go like this. I'm wondering if... And I discard that. And this is my final card. And I think I'm just going to... And I can never slide a card underneath. So... Right like that. And that will be the end of the game. I would then take my notebook or the score pad that it comes with, write my name, Brent, and then the shared goal. So I get 8 points for every elk that's touching at least three forests, 0 points. Not off to a good start. Let's score this one. I'll get 1 point for every river, crystal, elk, and wolf. So I will count those up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I got 12. 4 points for each of these for 8, 12, 16. And then for every pair. So I have 2 pairs. So 1, 1, and 1, 1. So that'll be another 12. So then my subtotal would be 40. But then for each of these I get minus 10. So minus 30. So my final score would be 10 points. And that's it. That's how quick the game is. And like I said, I played the solo version, but typically on each round, each player would have 2 cards. They would choose one and hand the other one to the other player. That is how you play Confusing Lands. Let's check on out, move on over, and look at the final forecast. So the final forecast for Confusing Lands, a small little game with 18 cards. And yes, I did share and show the 6 promo cards that you can get that have double symbols like mountain and forest, as well as, village and mountain. These all score compared to your opponent. And in the rule book it says, or in the instructions here it says, in one opponent's landscape, which makes me think, can I get 2 copies of Confusing Lands and then play with 4 players and just draft 4 cards, take one past the next 3 and just do it like that? Can I do that? I'm not sure, but just the wording on those promo cards would kind of allude to a possibility. I'm not sure, but this is a 2-player game or solo play. I've played it both. I've enjoyed both tremendously. I'm giving this one an 80% chance of meeples. In a day and age where companies and games are more and more, blinged out production, huge boxes and everything, this is on the polar opposite end of the spectrum. A tiny little box, 18 cards. I know companies like Button Shy and All Play have small micro games as well. And so this is a breath of fresh air for me because not often do I have
unlimited time in a day, in an evening. Sometimes I only have like 15, 20 minutes in an evening to just relax and sit down and chill. And no, I don't just want to scroll social media or watch something. I just want to sometimes play a game. And I can do that in 10 minutes. And so this has some fun, interesting decisions. It's similar in scoring to Lost Cities to me, because in Lost Cities, anytime you go on an expedition, it's already minus 20 points. So you have to gain at least 20 points before you break even, and then you can actually get real points. Whereas it's the same in this one. Every scoring condition that you keep is minus 10 points. And so you have to think, oh man, when am I going to stop collecting scoring opportunities? You only have 8 cards, so, you're going to have maybe 3 or 4, but every one of this is minus 10. And then the more you take, the more convoluted your landscape is going to be, because you're focusing on then too many things. But then you may all of a sudden get that one card where it's like, you have lots of villages, and all of a sudden it's 1 victory point for every unique symbol around all my villages. Well, I already have a whole bunch of villages. Maybe now is the time to actually keep this scoring card to gain a bunch of points. And so every game is going to feel a little bit different depending on the order when you get these cards, what your opponent takes. And so this has been a lot of fun. I like it that all the scoring cards are on each of them. They have the number. So then you just go, number 4, open up the little rule book and read number 4 and the scoring for thriving villages. Each of your village spaces scores 1 victory point for each different type of non-village symbol in spaces near it. So then, that's exactly what it is. I've had this little rule book pamphlet on the table for the first few times when I'm teaching it to explain what they are, because every card is different. All 18 cards score. And so as soon as you play the game a number of times, you'll catch on to those. But I wasn't a fan of number 13. It's score 1 point for each space in your longest continuous straight line that does not contain scoring conditions. So if I'm building a super long landscape, it's only going to be like 18 squares. And so my maximum potential to score this one is only 8 points, because 18 minus my 10, 8 points. Whereas some of these other ones, 1 victory point for things near my villages, well, Jeepers Creepers, I could have tons of different icons around multiple villages. So a card like this becomes that much greater than a card like this. And this one also restricts on how you're going to build. But like I said, super short game. Not often you're just going to play one game. This is like a staple for my lunch kit at work, because, if I'm on break with a coworker, I can pull this out and we can play a game in 10 minutes, or I can just have fun and try to get a high score myself and play solo. So Confusing Lands, fantastic little tiny game, 80% chance of meeples. Check it out. My name is Brent. Till next time, grab your umbrella. The forecast is cloudy with a chance of meeples.